実を切り裂いて頂点を追いれ飛び立ったとこしへあの日何か
Okay, so apparently ComicsExplained just uploaded part 8 of the Infinity Gauntlet comic book issue. He finally uploaded, and this is the conclusion. Now, I don't know if I did this or not, but seeing as how I remember slightly that I only got to do 1 through 7, and I said that, you know, I couldn't find 8, and he didn't upload 8. He finally uploaded, and now we get to do it. So, without further ado, let's get this over with and finish this issue of Infinity Gauntlet.
In half of Infinity Gauntlet issue number 6, we get a conclusion to this story. We get an end to the Infinity Gauntlet event. And picking up where we left off with Infinity Gauntlet issue number 6 part 1, what we saw was that Adam Warlock had attained the Infinity Gauntlet for himself, and that he had promised to be a fair and just God. And so what we see Adam Warlock saying here is that he promises to use this power wisely,
Right.
and he promises not to abuse this power in the same fashion that Nebula or Thanos had. And what's really interesting here is that, for the most part, Adam Warlock seems very sincere here. He seems as though it really is his intention to be a good guy. And the question that the Incredible Hulk has is, what are they going to do about Thanos and Nebula? What's going to happen with them now? And Drax the Destroyer, of course, being a being that was created for the destruction of Thanos, takes it upon himself to say that Thanos is his, that he's going to try to kill Thanos here. But of course, Thanos is easily able to overpower both the Incredible Hulk and Drax the Destroyer.
What?
So here, we switch to Thanos saying that he's activated some kind of a thermonuclear device on his belt line, and that it's set to activate in about 15 seconds.
Oh,
and
shit.
Silver Surfer asks why. Why would Thanos kill himself? And Thanos says that for him, death is preferential to imprisonment. Now, he doesn't really explicitly say this, but I would even go as far as to speculate that for Thanos, if he were to die, he would find absolute happiness within the realm of Mistress Death. But again, every instance that we've seen with Thanos where he has gone after Mistress Death has always been an attempt to be by her side, to be her equal, more so than a person who simply just exists inside her realm. And so what we see is that Eric Masterson takes the hammer of Thor and hits Thanos with it. And when he does, Thanos is knocked away from the newly restored Shrine of Mistress Death and out into the depths of space, where he explodes, presumably killing him. And this is what everybody takes on. Everybody takes on this mantle that Thanos has been killed, that Thanos is now dead. He's no longer part of this conflict anymore. And so we see that Eros steps up and says that as a member or representative of the state of Titan, that he's taking custody of Nebula for himself. And Eros has grounds to do this because, again, as far as everybody here knows, Nebula is a relative of Thanos. And so by extension, she's a relative of Eros, and so Eros is for the most part just settling family issues here.
Okay.
And so Adam Warlock agrees with this. Adam Warlock says that's fine, and he teleports Eros, Drax the Destroyer, Nebula away, but then also teleports the Incredible Hulk away, presumably back to the planet Earth. And so the only people that we have left are the Silver Surfer, Eric Masterson, and Doctor Strange. And the question that's asked here by the Silver Surfer is why? Why are they still here when everybody else has been sent away? And Adam Warlock says that they have gazed into the depths of his heart. They know him the way nobody else does. And for the most part, Adam Warlock is saying here that they are the only individuals who know him well enough that when he says that he will be a god who can be trusted, that he means it. And so he sends them forward to tell other people this is true. And again, this is very much tapping into the element of Adam Warlock representing a Jesus Christ-like figure in Marvel Comics. Because again, if you go back and watch our discussion on Adam Warlock, if you go back and listen to what it was that we were saying, that Adam Warlock was introduced to us as a Christ-like figure. He had simply just emerged one day. He was created. He was, I guess, crucified by Man-Beast on the Counter-Earth during that storyline. And of course, he had resurrected himself on several occasions. And so this is tapping back into that in the same way that Jesus had informed his disciples that he was truly the Son of God and to go forth and to spread his word, that Adam Warlock is doing much the same thing. And for the most part, what we see is that these superheroes are kind of questioning this. They're saying, is this really true? Can they really go forward and say that Adam Warlock is a fair and true God? Because as Dr. Strange says, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And Adam Warlock asks them if the idea of replacing their chaos, the chaos that is their lives, with order, if it would be something unpalatable. And again, what we see is that they're reacting in such a way to where, for them, this is scary, that not only would their lives be irrevocably changed if Adam Warlock chose to do so, but that Adam Warlock looks at them as chaotic beings, and that his role is to replace their chaos with order, to, in effect, make the universe the way he sees fit. And so for them, they look at this as though he's taking the first few steps towards becoming corrupted by the power of the Infinity Gauntlet. But Adam Warlock is able to quell their concerns to a degree. He says that the distance between who he was now, or who he was then and who he is now, is something insurmountable, that not even he realizes the differences, and that he thought that he could speak with them and tell them that he would be fair. He thought that he could demonstrate that he would be a fair God, but that it doesn't seem as though they are willing to buy into this cause. And so what we see is that Adam Warlock teleports them away. At this point, we switch to Adam Warlock 60 days into the future with Gamora and Pip. And what Adam Warlock tells Pip is that they're going to meet someone. They're going to go on a journey. And he says, for the most part, that this is something that's happened time and time again. And so what it seems is that Adam Warlock has manipulated the time gem to travel 60 years into the future on several occasions to see if it's possible for things to turn out differently. But what he tells us is that it always turns out the same way. And so what we see as they're walking along is that it appears that the Thanos is standing in the cornfields. That Thanos is simply just waiting their arrival. But when they get to it, they realize that it's simply just a scarecrow wearing his suit. And Adam Warlock comments on this and says that it's an empty shell of what was. That it appears as though Thanos has cast aside his old mantle of attempting to usurp absolute power and seems to maybe just be living a quiet life. And indeed, that's what we learn. We learn that when they approach a house relatively close to the cornfields, that Thanos emerges wearing some kind of garb, some kind of maybe monk-like garb, or an outfit that simply just allows him relative comfort, and he tells Adam Warlock that he should have known that it would be him, that he would come for him eventually. And Adam Warlock more or less just greets Thanos as a friend here, at the very least, if not a friend, as a person who's certainly not an enemy.
Right.
And so what Adam Warlock says is that there are no secrets from him. Having absolute knowledge and absolute power within the universe grants him the knowledge of knowing what all is going on in the universe at that very moment. And so Thanos comments and says that the memory of having absolute power is very dim for him, and that he asked Adam Warlock why he had waited so long to gain vengeance. And again, Adam Warlock comments and says, why is it that he always asks the same question, indicating that this has repeated itself on several occasions, that Adam Warlock has traveled into the future several times, and that this circumstance always plays out the same way. And Thanos seems to recognize this. Thanos says that he supposes that he always asks the same question, and that is a bit confusing, which of course tells us that Thanos, while he doesn't necessarily recall every facet of the Infinity Gauntlet event, at the very least remembers what it was like to hold that absolute power. And what Adam Warlock tells Thanos is that he's looking for some advice, more likely advice on how to wield the Infinity Gauntlet effectively. And Thanos simply says to either endure it or to surrender to its power. And Adam Warlock says this really isn't the kind of comfort he was looking for. Now, what it was that he was looking for with Thanos is something that we actually don't learn. We don't learn what it was that he was trying to gain from Thanos here, what it was he was trying to get Thanos to say. All we know is that he went to Thanos for advice on what to do, and Thanos gave him a couple words that didn't really seem to comfort him that well. And so, for the most part, Adam Warlock, Gamora, and Pip take their leave. They choose to go ahead and leave Thanos to his thoughts. And what we see is that for the most part, Thanos is simply just living a quiet life here. That after everything that's gone on, after everything that has taken place, that Thanos is taking this time to, I guess, to collect himself, to decide
reflect
what his next move is going to be, whether or not he's still going to continue his path for trying to gain absolute power again, or if he is simply just going to try to live a quiet life. And again, touching back on Thanos' character within the Marvel Universe, we learn, of course, later on that Thanos goes after the heart of the universe, which, of course, grants him absolute power once more. But for the most part, we're left with Thanos here on his personal thoughts, as he says that for the most part, he thinks that he came out on top with this particular event, that Adam Warlock is undergoing a process, that he's undergoing a change, and that he holds a heavy burden in the fact that he has absolute power. And so he has to constantly be on guard. He has to constantly be vigilant, because even the slightest subconscious thought could lead to the ruin of all. And so again, Thanos says that he doesn't envy Adam Warlock, and that at the end of the day, that after everything is all said and done, that Thanos came out on top here. Now, his statement in terms of coming out on top is twofold. The first half is that he's managed to eliminate the burden of absolute power. This is no longer something he has to deal with, and so his mind is at ease. But the other half, the second part of this, is that Adam Warlock is going to undergo something called the Trial of Warlock, whereby he will be called before the living tribunal at the behest of the cosmic entity Eternity, along with the other cosmic entities, to determine whether or not he is capable of being able to wield the Infinity Gauntlet.
Wow.
With that being said, we're going to go ahead and bring this video to an end, and I really hope you guys enjoy the Infinity Gauntlet story. It is, in fact,
I did. That was
one of the absolute best
very
stories
surprising
that ever been
end to it.
created in the Marvel Comics events. With that being said, I will catch you guys later. Peace.
Now, obviously, that was, I can honestly say, in all seriousness, a more fitting end to the Infinity Gauntlet issue, because we learned that Thanos basically just said, "Fuck it, I'm not gonna deal with this no more." Adam Warlock is doing what he believes is the best thing to do, but he feels, but he realizes that people are not siding with him, so he goes on this journey to literally just find himself and understand that he has to totally, like Thanos was describing and ComicsExplained was describing, he has to totally be on guard, because people are gonna want those gems. People are gonna want that gauntlet for themselves, and the slightest hesitation or the the slightest thought of, you know, using it for a selfish purpose could determine everything that has to do with him holding it. Jesus. Well, guys, this was really nice. I'm glad that he finally finished part 8, but it sounded like that was an old video that he probably deleted, and I can't remember. Somebody told me that he had it up there once, but it got taken off because of copyright or whatever, of course, YouTube. But yeah, other than that, I'm glad that he put it back up. This was great to have, and I'm glad I got to finish this going into the next week, which is going to be the debut for Infinity War, the actual movie. So everything is going to be ending within these 2 weeks, this week and next week. So yeah, till then, you guys, this has been the Sakurai, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Peace.